Do you want no video?
Video's fine.
Welcome, friends, to today's gathering under the full potent energies of the Gemini full moon. I wanted to share a couple of photographs that friends here in New Zealand, actually in Dunedin, where I live, took of the blood moon last night, because we were fortunate to be able to experience the full eclipse here at 11:11, which is a rather auspicious time. So this is one taken by my friend Bridget, who lives here on the peninsula. And to pair with this beautiful image, thought we'd welcome you all with this prayer to Universal Mother by Master Serapis Bey. Universal Mother, weave me in the language of love that brings me closer to loving my brothers and sisters in oneness. Grow in me my ability to think, feel, and act with a love that binds all things together in beauty and creation. We want to begin each session with a lighting of the candle, just to bring us all present into the gathering. So if you have a candle, and this is something we'll be doing with all our future meetings, we invite you to just take a moment and light that and bring yourself present to each other, to yourself, and to the conversation that unfolds in the space between us today.
So, as Rumi says, let's close our eyes, fall in love, and stay there. We stand in each of our gardens, our feet firmly on the ground, the rain clouds just moving away, and the sun is gently shining through leaves of the trees surrounding us. Birds are chirping, singing a praise to the light. Wonderful perfumes reach us of white flowers and vegetation. And as we stand thus, we realize that our gardens are interconnected into a beautiful, sacred garden temple, our etheric agora, where we invoke a higher vision. And let's turn our attention to the spark which lives in each of our hearts and in which we live. The eternal spark whose nature and energy is pure joy. In the hearts of our hearts, that spark is. And which we know is connected to everything that precedes us and everything that comes after us. The hearts of our hearts connected with the heart of God, receiving the energy of freedom, of limitless possibilities, of pure love. Our hearts which are connected with the heart of our beautiful, beautiful planet, receiving from it the blessing of the intelligence of the elements, the blessing of the vital force, of the enthusiasm. And as we witness these beautiful energies all connecting in ourselves, in our lives, in our hearts, as we witness their encounter, their love for each other, their marriage, our individual sparks grow in brilliance and their rays extend further and further until they connect our hearts to each other. To each other and to the heart of our group, which we can see as a beautiful lotus flower, open petals glistening with vibrant colors, and its center a jewel illuminating the surroundings. This heart, we know, is open, connected with the hierarchy, whose guidance we seek. To the heart of the hierarchy and further up to Shambhala. And as we stand there, a gentle wind, a breeze, blows into our group's heart, into the lotus, out of which a sparkly dust is propelled and is spreading in concentric waves and reaches our circle, all of us and each of us, passes through our hearts and continues spreading to and through all the consecrated groups, to and through people of goodwill, to and through humanity and all other kingdoms in nature, animal, plant, mineral. And we see our relations being illumined and uplifted. And while we send our gratitude to accompany the sparkly dust up and down its spreading movement, let us recite this universal prayer or invocation, as we call it. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light shining in every creature. O hidden love embracing all in oneness. Let each who feels one with thee know he is one with every other. And so let us begin our work. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniela. What a beautiful, and Diego thanks you as well. Welcome, everyone, and a special welcome to our extra special guest, Tuya Robbins, who many of you will know from Seven Ray Conference. She is a master ceremonialist and ritualist. She brings beauty to everything that she touches. She I think we'll just leave it there. There's so much, but her particular forte is around white magic, around ritual, around ceremony, around mythology, and the Deva kingdom. And what I've noticed over the years I've known and worked with her on the when I was a member of the board of directors at the Seven Ray is her intense focus on loving wisdom, on bringing the Aquarian age into manifestation, and on really creating right human relationships. And since this is the Gemini full moon, and it is about right human relationships, Tuya, you are the perfect helper along to help us with our conversation. And so, as most of you know, we're aiming this year to have conversations and bring 2 or 3 people together from various, perhaps different perspectives to have conversations. So our format today will be Tuya plus Sasha will initiate the conversation for 15 or 20 minutes about right human relations, giving our theme, what is true now and what's the next right thing. And in about 20 minutes or so, we will have a period of silence, and Tuya and Sasha may give us something to do during that. I'll play some music and give some space in the silence so that things can filter through. And then we'll come back for a second part, just so you have the kind of the general outlook. So I will turn this over to Tuya and to Sasha, and there we go. And leave it to you. And just while they're coming on, there we go. So we want to have this a conversation. I'll just say that the Zoom platform means we have to have a different kind of format. So if you have comments, the first thing we'd like you to do is put the comments out into the ether, or the questions into ether, so we develop more the mental field. If you have comments and questions, would you please put them in the chat? And I will, I'll monitor that, and we'll keep that flow going. So, and you're welcome to leave your video on and to see who else is here as well. All right, so the chat is open and we'll be paying attention. And over to Tuya and Sasha.
Greetings, everyone. Right before starting this, Tuya and I, Tuya, we didn't decide who's gonna go first. And just you go first. So I'm going first.
Hello to everybody.
And I just want to say that originally this conversation, Kathy Newburn's supposed to be with us in the triangle, but she couldn't join us today. And so she's with us subjectively. So therefore we will allocate extra silence for the time when Kathy will speak subjectively. But yes, sorry for this last minute announcement. And so here we are in this special energy of Gemini, and it's difficult to find words normally in this high energies and of the full moon, of any full moon, but specifically Gemini, because the energy is so intense. But as we know, that one of the tasks of the new group of all service to express the vision of the plan, we have to train to speak clearly and express clearly what our intuition brings us. And yes, this year our topic is what is true now. And in the science of mutable cross, we look into one of the 3 prerequisites for the reappearance of the Christ, which is bringing the measure of peace to international relations. but as the world became so global and so international, so it's, what is international peace now? In this time, it's, I think even the nature of the conflict as the opposite of peace has changed, and it's not transnational conflicts so much, but it's our internal conflicts, our conflicts with those around us. That's is the background of any international conflict in a way, because we are part of that, and therefore the peace should start with each of us, finding that peace within and between us. And so the preparing for this gathering, I was reflecting on what is true now in terms of right relationships, where we are now, and what is the nature of the conflict today. Because as we approach the year 2025, the energies of the fourth ray become more and more potent, and we know that it's the foundational energy for humanity. That's the energy that we all vibrate most of all with, and it's the energy of conflict that eventually should result in harmony. And I have a list, that 10 bullet pointed list of 10 things what I see as like most defining for our times, defining this reality. First of all, it's we as practicing esotericists, we all recognize the fact of the increasing energy of the will that comes starting from 2000 more, year 2000 more and more intensely with the Shambhalic impact. And as the blue books tell us, those who are more assertive and more aggressive, they most openly react to this energy of the will, and therefore it's a task of the disciples and aspirants to equip themselves to work with that energy. So therefore the overall intensification of all sorts of conflicts in the world that we observe for the last 20 years, maybe less, because there is certainly, we know there are cycles of the coming of that great energy. Another fact that is true now that we observe is that what Tibetan tells us is the dynamic balancing of the three great centers of Shambhala, humanity, and hierarchy coming into alignment, and therefore humanity becomes more and more sensitive to that very special energy of will. Another fact along the same line of unfolding will energy is that the new group of world servers becomes more and more self-aware of its role and the purpose, overall purpose unfolding. And the impulse of the festival week of the new group of world service of 2019, 2012, 2005, those three festival weeks coming after 2000s make the world group more and more aware of its responsibilities. And I see it as one of the factors that becomes more active in the world arena and in the international conflict resolutions. So that's as a base of where we are now, what is true now. But then if go further into what's been unfolding in the last 20 years, it's more kind of tangible. What we all can recognize and what we deal with each day is that unprecedented revolution of communication technologies that's been unfolding. It's about around the same time that the internet became part of our life, and there is no turning back. And the way how we interact with information drastically changed. In a way, this is a revolution similar to revolution of like informational revolution of inventing the printing press. But if you think what changes triggered invention of the printing press with the wide distribution of knowledge by printing books, newspapers, that those who had monopoly on knowledge, church, they lost their control. And so the gatekeepers of information has changed back then. The same thing happening now, but in much deeper and much more rapid process as things get much more, like much faster overall. The gatekeepers of information, which till now it's been governments and to some extension corporations, lost that control of information. And information became widely available, and that's created the shift that we still cannot grasp, but we can start recognizing what it means practically. Anything that's been hidden before cannot be hidden anymore. But along with the same, at the same time, the floodgates for misinformation opened. And those whom we call habitually dark forces got access to the information dissemination and spread of false information. And with each year, they become more and more masterful in doing that. And that creates a lot of, resulted in creation a lot of informational chaos and confusion. And as a result of that, separation. Separation within families, separation between friends. And that's type of a separation that it's like for the first time, it's not kind of between nations, it's across nations. It's a separation that's became transnational. And there are a number of topics that separation's been triggered on. And so that's the reality of today. That's the conflict of these days. Another fact that I recognize what is true now is that same dark forces as Master Joel Kuhl told us, they are quite masterful on the mental plane. And they control the mental plane. And so therefore the level of facts and information is very masterfully controlled by them. And that we just have to recognize that it's the plane where it's difficult to compete. another fact, what is true now, that's what we, as esotericists, can recognize, is that humanity overall now, evolutionary, is in the face of becoming more and more mentally polarized. On the way to the first initiation of recognizing the soul presence, this effect of the soul, we come through the strengthening of our mental apparatus. And it's what's happening with this, the same time as this wide availability of information became reality. We getting more as a species, as humanity, we become more and more focused and interested in figuring out what's happening, of trying to process mentally things. And yet at the same time, we, humanity, we're still largely astrally polarized. And therefore, the way how we perceive information and how we process information is still very emotional. And therefore, we can be easily triggered. And that leads even to more conflict.
Okay, that's a lot. There's a lot happening now, Sasha. So let's. So everybody,
Yes, we can say goodbye.
a little release here, and just hold that that wealth of offering that. So Sasha has beautifully set out a beautiful, big, broad foundation. I want to invite Tuija in. And to have let Tuija respond, bring her own piece in, and for the next few minutes, Tuija, go ahead, and I'd love to hear a conversation of going back and forth if you've got questions. But let's move over to Tuija to hear her introduction and offering.
Well, first of all, I didn't know at all that I am kind of a special guest, so I have not been preparing. I was really understanding that I am in the panel. But anyway, I will start about that. Today, Christ has been sounding the last sermon of the Buddha, the few last verses by the Buddha. Be earnest then, O brethren, holy, full of thought. Be steadfast in resolve. Keep watch o'er your own hearts. Who wearies not, but holds fast to his truth and law, shall cross this sea of life, shall make an end of grief. In the world today, there is so much grief, or maybe when we think about the life of humanity, maybe it has been for ages full of grief. Think about that when you were coming into this incarnation. Think about those thoughts when we were children and kids. There was the future before us. We were enthusiastic, and there were no problems at all that one's own dream and dreams would not come true. But what happens then between? It's the mystery of human life. It is, however much we want that this would not be true. This is one kind of true. Today as well, that there is grief because we are not following the law. Sasa was talking about the will, which is increasing. And that is some kind of a counterpart of the law. The will always grow when we go further in life, and it has to. The more we evolve as disciples, the will grow, and it must. But when it is mixed with this complicated, horrible, wonderful thing, concrete mind, is the trigger for us. The mind functions the way that it must see the differences. Otherwise, we are not evolving if we don't see the differences. But then if we dwell in those differences, we are lost. So how to find back on the track is always the question for everybody, but for disciples. How do I become truly truthful? Do I dare to take that step and really go before my brother and sister and look into the eye? That is some kind of thing, what I have been thinking during these past weeks a lot, because there was a thing what happened to me that, and it happened very suddenly. I was with my wonderful cat, whose name is Apollo. He's so loving cat. And suddenly he is lying there and purring. And suddenly I was just looking into his eyes. And I was so caught of that, because there was a being, this living being. And that is something which is a part of the ways how we can solve things, when we dare to look into the eye of the other. And in that sense, dare to put aside our mind. We argue, we fight, because our mind is seeing something, but it is not seeing the being. The higher mind does, but not the lower mind. So that is one of the things which will always bring into the smaller circles solutions, coming together and looking into the eye of the other. Daring to look into the eye of the other. And I really underline that, daring to look. If you have been studying human behavior, wherever there is something, what is for some reason rising from somewhere, people do not dare to look into the eye. It's very difficult to hold your eye in the eye of the other. And this is the theme of the Gemini. I see my other self. But from the perspective of the soul, who is looking at the personality, and the personality has to fade away, but it is not really fading away, because when the personality becomes the vehicle for the soul, it's not exactly fading away. It is that thing that then the soul and the personality looks into each other's eye. So that's why I'm saying that willingness to see the eye of the other, and be, as Buddha says, strong in that relying upon oneself. This is one of the reasons why we always walk aside of the noble middle path, or the way to the solutions, is that we are not daring to love. So will to love is something that we have to really will to love. And in that sense, when we dare to love, prepare to die. Every single moment, prepare to die. And it is something when one can have it in one's mind that I am dying. I'm dying away from negativity. I'm dying away from all that which is binding. When we look at the solutions from the others, and that's why we accuse the others, because the other didn't bring the solution for myself. This daring to rely upon oneself is this great beginning of wisdom. And the last thing is that prepare the weight of light, because the light is very heavy. And I think that's why I'm putting on weight every year more and more. Light is very heavy. Yes, I will leave here. Let us start to talk.
Yeah, let's just take a one moment. I'm just going to play some flute for a moment, because I think a lot has come through. I know what I mean, here are some questions that if you were taking notes or not taking notes, here's some questions I came up with that I'd like to sit with, that as particularly as Tuija was talking, because she did actually ask some questions. How do I become truly truthful? So maybe you might want to pick one of these for our next little silent moment to let receive what you can. How do I become truly truthful? Do I dare to take the step and look into the other's eyes, depending on what the other is? And what is daring? And the one that really got me right now was when we dare to love, prepare to die. And I'm not sure if I want Tuija to say anything more than that right now. And what am I dying away from? So those were 4 questions that I would like offer into the group. And I'm just going to play some flute for a few minutes as that sinks in, and you can write, listen, you know, pat your cat. And then we'll come back and then we'll get into it again. Just take a moment, if you have any insights, to put those in the chat, just so we have a little bit of reflection. just so that we have a group field. And then we'll come back to the conversation. Or if you have a question that you would like Sasha and Tuija to address, something that's been around right human relations that's been burning, or smoking.
Well, I could say something about that, about right human relations.
Yeah.
When one thinks about one's own life, it's again one thing to question one's life from oneself. How do I emphasize right human relations in my own circles? Well, it's very easy to see that how much we need right human relations between nations. But when we go deeper into that whole idea, do we dare to actually use the methods to build those right human relations? Then when in the family circles or working circles, or anyway in our own near environment, comes frictions, comes confrontations. Do we dare to really practice?
Sorry, and I'd love to hear the two of you talk about that. And also, I always take it back, the right human relations begins with me. Having right relationship with myself. Being Sun in Gemini, I get the other self, the self and the two selves. They're in me all the time. But I'd love to hear the two of you talk about right human relationships between each other and how we might do that as esotericists, and also how we do that for ourselves. I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Shasta, do you want to say something?
Yeah. So looking into each other's eyes, I think that's good expression of the main factor of how we, in this continuously unfolding crisis, not just survive, but actually move forward. It's as we look into each other's eyes, we recognize own humanity. I see you, and I recognize myself in you. And that's loving more is the only solution for this unfolding crisis that we are in the midst of. As much as we disagree with each other, remembering that we love each other, that's the main thing. If we do only that thing, cultivating love, that would be sufficient. Considering everything else that's happening, there are a lot of will energy, maybe even too much will energy. And we have to, I don't know, like tenfold more try to generate love in the world to compensate it. It's as one of the rules of the healing, that the healer cannot apply will without love. And so about how we cultivate right relationship is that no matter how disagree I am with you, that's so not important. Because first of all, I recognize that I can be wrong, that I can be illusioned and glamored, because till I get to the third initiation, I'm the subject of illusion and I'm not there. So I accept a priori that I am illusion, but through my illusion cannot stop me like loving you.
Mhm.
That's the safest space. A few days ago, there was another meeting that we talked, and I brought up one of the 6 rules on the path. It's from the Glamour book, and I'll just want to read it again because I think it's for all of us. It should be like in front of our eyes all the time. It's page 51, book of like this Glamour. Up on the road, the hidden stands revealed. Each sees and knows the villainy of each. And yet there is, with that great revelation, no turning back, no spurning of each other, and no shakiness up on the road. The road goes forward into day.
There's a saying that it's very easy to love humanity, but kind of tough to love your next door neighbor.
Mhm. But
You know,
yeah,
if that's the next door neighbor, you know, that you are having an issue with. And, you know, I keep thinking about families right now in conflict with varying views and and friends with such varying views where people are not talking to each other. And so the challenge for me is, how do I look into that person's eyes, knowing that they are diametrically opposed to me in every single way, and love them? And then what? I can love, and then how do I connect? I'm thinking of actually of President Biden and Netanyahu. And Biden has said, I disagree, you know, Bibi, I disagree with absolutely everything you say and do, and I love you. And you can tell when you hear that from Biden that he means it. He's figured out a way to do that. So, Tui, do you have thoughts on like how do we? Because I know
millions of thoughts.
I
You
know.
know,
I
one
know.
thing-
I'm just opening the door to you.
yeah, one thing I was thinking about, that it is between the spouses. I don't. I disagree everything what you are saying, but still I love you. and then from a very practical point of view, this has been some of the themes since I was 15 or whatever I remember from younghood, that I am a secondary personality and I have a fourth-ray mind. I have great problems of frictions. I feel them, I sense them, even my brain consciousness. I have been in the theater and I could feel in my head all these frictions. Or if I am speaking and there are people who are criticizing, I sense that. And then in the life, one has to take this mask and play a dull plant, like I am not getting anything, everything is fine. But this friction is awful sense. And so that was pushing me to try to understand or what to do. One of the things is exactly what then later on I was reading how DK was emphasizing, that to just stand in the burning ground. And as Sasha was saying about the rules of the road, there is no turning back. It is something built into the heart. It is something built of that when you are really serious, doesn't matter what the others are saying, but if you are serious, that you have determined that I do not want the life which is full of hatred. I do not want to have this kind of life that I cannot meet another one as a friend. So I have been always against all that I cannot understand if somebody says that there is no solution. I just don't believe it. So then, but if the other one is not willing, what do you do? So my method has been blessing, and I have never ever in my life met situation that if I went into the blessing, that it didn't turn in one point, but it can take time. In my life, it has been even a process, in some cases 10 years, but it has been turned around. And then I was talking to the people already in the beginning about this Ho'oponopono method. And I was myself trying it. Maybe if we have time that we could have this short meditation. That we have a neighbor, yes, so honestly a neighbor in Lapland, and who was burning our house, our cottage. We bought this cottage from him, and then there was a case of mold and all kinds of things, and a court case, and he lost that, and he burned our house. Okay, there are karmic situations, or then it is a new karma, who knows, but it does not matter. And I started to use this, and I did 3 days, and then we met with him, and we are looking each other, and normally it's a very little place where our summer cottage is in Lapland. It was so interesting. He's looking at me, I'm looking at him. Then I smiled at him. I looked into his eyes and I waved. And he was so completely surprised. He's looking at me like this, and then, and normally when I was in summer cottage, he was coming several times a week and was threatening me. But since that, he has never come back. His brother is living in our neighbor. So I am looking at this again, very interested what is going to happen. But if we identify, as in this Ho'oponopono methods, is that you identify so strongly with the other that you realize that whatever is around me is me, just me. It does not matter if the other one has done wrong, or you have not been having any involvement of that. You can still go through this process as you were the one. There is some big magic in that. And that it is in the teaching, all great ones have been always talking about the identification. So
Yeah, I think I'm just looking, I think that would be a beautiful practice that we could do for this next moment of silence. And I think, and if you would guide us through that, this will be our kind of reflective silent time. And I know, so really it's about taking personal responsibility as well for our part in whatever is happening. And I remember us doing it as the board. It was extraordinarily powerful.
Right.
You know, it was so powerful, and it really shifted all of our relationships in that group, you know, in that period of time that we did that. So, Tuija, let's, Sasha, do you have anything else to add before we go into this practice?
I think it's a good time for us to go into it.
Perfect. Okay. So, Tuija, would you lead us in Ho'oponopono, please?
Right.
Open. Sorry.
It is. Thank you that you were writing. It is
We've-
so
it's
very.
written. I know it's written properly. Let's just do it, and we'll
Yeah.
we'll get it.
I read few things before that. What they say, these kahuna healers. There is a divine creator who takes care of altruistic pleas of men. When the phrase "it is done" is used after a prayer, it means man's work ends and God's begins. Self-identify signifies during the Ho'oponopono that the three selves or aspects of consciousness are balanced and connected with the divine creator. So let us go deep within and understanding these three aspects of the mind. Them merging together and thus connected with the divine creator. In this practice, there are 4 sentences, what we are saying. Let us self-identify with this energy of Ho'oponopono. Even though we are not quite knowing what this means in Hawaii, but we can understand. And we are using in this mantra I love you. I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. So you may, if you want, to choose someone with whom you have problems, something which has been maybe years, painful relationship, whatever it is. Focus upon this person and see this person very clearly before you. Stay with the Christ. His love giving you strength to really look into the eye of that person. Identifying with his problems or her problems. whatever is this relationship, whatever has happened, however much he or she hurt you, we go to the first step and say to him or to her, I love you. The second step is to say, I am sorry. The third step, still looking into the eye of that person, and doesn't matter who did what. Say, please forgive me. And the fourth step, thank you. And let the real energy of gratitude truly fill your heart. Completely merge with the gratitude. How is your mind when the mind is completely showered by the gratitude? Let it expand in you. Let it uplift yourself. Let the gratitude of the soul transform you completely. And let it expand in the group. Pulsating gratitude to the world. Pouring with such a force that it will dig however deep in the darkness anyone would be. It will uplift everybody into the light. Gratitude. Transforming every bit of anxieties or depression. Gratitude. So that you can say, I am soul, I am spirit, full of light, I rely upon myself alone. Oh.
Thank you so much, Tuija. I'd like to bring Katja in to start to close and round ourselves out here, to summarize anything bringing together. Katja, do you have anything to say or not?
Yes. It's interesting, the deeper we went into discussion, the more one thing stood out for me, because all of us, we were talking about the same principle. It's the life. Like when we look in somebody's eyes, we see the essence, we see life happening. And it's almost like a marker in any situation, right? If we sense that the energy of life is coming in, there's becoming more of it, the livingness is becoming greater. It's one direction. When we sense that the life is drawn out of us, no matter how right we think we are or how strong we believe, this is a very intricate marker that something is off and needs to be healed before we move on. And so when we identify with the essence of what others offer us, not with the form they're giving it in, but with the essence. It's like somebody serving you food and you might not like it, but the life that's shared and offered is precious. And it seems like at the moment, we as humanity and as part of humanity, and even as part of new group, we are not yet balanced. And it's our task to balance those opposites through this amazing energy that Christ delivers at this particular point in time in Gemini, becoming that third point that can say, well, what's the essence? What is the deep meaning of that? Because we're all students, we learn. We learn and we don't have the answer truly. We can guess and we can practice. So if we remember that we're sharing with one another, and it's okay if somebody doesn't like the sharing, as long as we see each other through that. Like we see the hierarchy and the great principles and that energy that energizes us and makes that more possible. That meditation made it more, it created more life. Forgiveness created more life. Understanding that people do not oppose me, they oppose my point of view. They don't like the food I cooked. I can cook another, or I can stick with my recipe and find people who like my food. Still, same precious life happening in those who do not accept my food, as long as they accept me. So acceptance, gratitude, and more and more learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Katya. Dragon also says thank you. I think that's a beautiful way to kind of wrap things up and take those words, the Katya, acceptance and gratitude and our practice, and take that with us through this full moon period into the distribution time, and see how it connects us to our next meeting for the full moon of Cancer. I'll just ask Claire, Daniela, Tuya, any last words? Sasha, any administrative things before we blow the candle out and leave the garden?
I would just like to say thank you to everyone.
Of course, I have.
I know you.
After tomorrow on Friday, GMT Friday, we invite you to join the meditation for the common good, full moon meditation. It's the work that we've been doing since last October on meeting on the new moon, meditating on the thought forms of solutions for those issues that we review. And since earlier this year, we started gathering on the full moon to meditate, to invoke the vision of the solution. So this, in this cycle, Gemini cycle, we meditate on the right relationships, exactly what we've been talking, sharing and meditating today. And the topic is finding resonance through harmony and discord, how we cultivate right human relationships. So please join us on Friday, and we will hold this topic throughout this month till the new moon in our group field to share and magnetize the practical thought forms of solution during new moon.
Beautiful. Daniela, did you see that message? Yoko, is it about the alignment that Daniela gave at the beginning of the session today? If that's true, I think she just made it up. It was inspired. Is that correct, Daniela? You didn't have it written down, did you?
I did, actually. I prepared to be not prepared. So yeah, I could.
That's another one of our themes this year, is to not.
So yes, I would be.
But there is the recording. So Sasha, and Daniela, where will the recordings be if people want to go back and hear parts?
Yeah, I'll post in the chat the YouTube channel. Just give me a minute.
Fantastic. So there you can, Yoko, you can go and see that there. And I want to thank Claire for all the images that she puts together. I know it's a delight for her, but it's just so beautifully done. And so it is so good to see you all. If you've scrolled through the screens, and to see, you might want to just do that now and scroll through and just take a little moment and send a blessing to each of the people in the group here who are on. Come on, everybody, come on screen, and we can and just see people. And there we go. So good to see you all. And to make eye contact as best we can through this. Claire, we're going to do the Gayatri, and then we'll leave the garden open for a few minutes if you want to kind of collect, and we need to blow out the candle. Claire, would you take us through that, please, and finish us up?
While Tuya was going through the Ho'oponopono ritual with us, I remembered some words that Lawson Bracewell offered me during a time of conflict with a loved one. And him saying to me, there are certain conversations that you cannot have in person, especially if the person is no longer on this planet or the circumstances put obstacles in the way of that. And the mantra that he gave me was, on the level of soul, I hold you in my heart. And I just wanted to offer that up because it's the mantra that I have used so often over the years in situations of conflict where there are no words that can be spoken, but the words that we speak in the space of the soul, in the space of the heart. So we come to the end of our gathering today, and thank you all and bless you all for your presence with us, for the words that have been spoken and the words that have not been spoken. and for the spaces that have been opened up in all of our hearts through the conversation that we've had here this evening, this morning, this afternoon. So we're closed actually with the invocation of unity, which takes us back to Daniela's visualization too. O hidden life, vibrant in every atom. O hidden light, shining in every creature. O hidden love, embracing all in oneness. May all who feel themselves as one with thee know they are therefore one with every other. So you might like to blow your candle out now, or keep it burning while we play a sung version of the Gayatri. And our doors to this garden will stay open until the Gayatri ends, and we wish you all well on your way. Thank you for being with us.
Tatsavitur Varenyam Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodaya Om Bhuvaswa Tatsavitur Varenyam Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodaya Om Bhuvaswa Tatsavitur Varenyam Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodaya Om Bhuvaswa Tatsavitur Varenyam Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodaya Om Bhuvaswa Tatsavitur Varenyam Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodaya Om Bhuvaswa Tatsavitur Varenyam Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodaya. Devasya Mahidio Yona Prachodaya Om Bhubu Vaswa Tatsavitu Varenyam Bargo Devasya Mahidio Yona Prachodaya Vaswa Tatsavitu Varenyam Bargo Devasya Mahidio Yona Prachodaya Om Bhubu Vaswa Tatsavitu Varenyam Bargo Devasya Mahidio Yona Prachodaya Om Bhubu Vaswa Tatsavitu Varenyam Bargo Devasya Mahidio Yona Prachodaya Om Vaswa Tatsavitu Varenyam Bargo Devasya Mahidio Yona Prachodaya. Bhuvaswa Tatsavitu Varenyam Bargo Devasya Mahidio Yona
Thank you all very much. And we'll see you next month.